Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another Sporting160EN podcast. Podcast number 102. We got a very special guest. Before I move on to our special guest, though, let me go to my cohort as always, starting off with my man Sam. Starting off, my only cohort today, I should say. Sam, how you doing, bro?
I mean, I am good. I'm not sure if Aaron's been following our Twitter account recently, but there's been a sort of a scandal, and I know Danny was talking about it before. This shirt right here, yeah.
I've been following it with great interest.
So apparently it's a fake from the badge, but like I say this again, it is an incredible fake. I would say, like I know there was people like proper like FBI investigating it, but what I'm going to do anyway is just have that, because I'm pretty sure what I assume has happened is that someone's bought a fake kit and then just pimped it out with like the Liga NOS sponsors, or everything maybe is just fake. But I plan to just hang that bit up anyway. And I was a bit upset about it, so I bought this masterpiece right next to me. It's Bruno Fernandes official, not fake, away kit, same one I'm wearing. So other than that, yeah, I'm good. But yeah, I'm glad to have Aaron on. But yeah, I'm good.
And yeah, before we move on to Aaron, let me just also say, because Richard already just sent this, in support of my good friend who potentially got scammed, I'm pretty sure this is a fake. I was actually going through an old photo album where I see my dad wear this. And yeah, like the Adidas print isn't really stitched on. So I'm pretty sure it's a fake, but I'm not going to tell anybody if you guys don't. And we're joined, of course, with a very special guest, the founder, writer, podcaster for Proxima Jornada, at Proxima Jornada 1, as everybody knows on Twitter. We're joined by Aaron Barton. Aaron, how are you today, my good friend, bro?
I'm good. It's great to be finally on here. It's been a long time coming, this one, so yeah, excited to be here. And just on the shirt debate, possible fakes as well. It's funny because I actually was going through some shit earlier because I was thinking, got to wear something good for the podcast. And I'm not sure whether this shirt is a authentic match worn by Fernando Couto. I actually don't know, but apparently it is. So I'm going to pull this out. It is.
I have to say that shirt you're wearing as well is flames. I respect it.
This shirt is authentic, but whether Fernando actually wore it, we don't know. So it's a Euro 96 qualifying shirt made by Olympic. And what makes me think it may possibly have been a player issue is the authentic numbering on the back. Bear in mind, he didn't have the names at this point. It's the same. I had a kit guy, look at it. And he said it's like the same authentic felt, because it's not like a plastic, it's like a felt. And he was like, I don't know, you know, and the more I was looking at it, I was like, and he was looking at sort, and he was like, it doesn't look like the one that was sold, but it doesn't look fake either. So I was like, And obviously number 5 at the time was Couto, so we don't know. We'll probably never get to the bottom of it unless someone can help me out. But either way, that's my share to start off the show to keep the trend going.
Sick. Yeah, and before we jump off to Twitter questions, let me just quick plug. Proxima Jornada's podcast is out as of today. I was actually listening a bit of it on my lunch break today. Already flames. So after this one, of course, go and jump onto that one and give that a listen, guys. Another great podcast, and more than just Sporting, it's actually about the Portuguese league, which is quite few and far between, actually, surpringly. About an English-based Portuguese league podcast. It's usually mainly like teams, so respect. That's cool, man. But yeah, let's jump right into our Twitter questions. First one coming from our boy all the way from Jordan, Abdallah at Abdarmuti92. Aaron, I'm going right to you for this one. Portugal's lineup for players under 23. So yeah, bro, if you can maybe think of a quick 11 for our under 23 potential lineup. If you were to take an under 23 to the Euros today.
Oh, can I take the players that'll be getting called up to the senior squad? Can I take Pedro Neto? Can I take you outfit? Oh, okay, we're cooking. Starting fact, let me start at the top of the pitch. Usually you start with the goalkeeper, but I'm going to start at the top of the pitch. I was actually over in Portugal in November in Cascais, I think it was. I know Estoril, watching the under-21s, and Rafael Leao was playing. He'd have to be in there.
So
Pedro Neto was
bring up on a sporting podcast right there.
It is. But that's the beauty of Proxima Jornada. He removes all club bias. It's just talent. It's just ability. And Pedro Neto was playing. He'd have to be on there, one of the wings. Pedro Gonçalves, obviously, with it being a sporting podcast, and also what a player. To be honest, that midfield, because I think on the day they played the midfield three of, I think it was Gedson Fernandes, Florentino Luis, and Vitinha. Now, Vitinha had he's got so much talent. He's not being used a lot at Wolves, but in terms of raw ability, he's a player I rate a lot, to be honest. And in terms of the other two, Florentino, I just seems to have just fallen off the face of the earth. He's went to Monaco and not been getting much game time. The exact same thing happened with Fernandes at Tottenham. So I wouldn't know, to be honest, with the midfielders. Fabio Vieira's been playing well when he came into the side. It's a difficult one. That is a difficult one. And then defensively, there's a couple who come to mind straight away in terms of, well, at least central defenders. David Carmo, obviously, before he got injured. Diogo Leite, fantastic player. One player I've been a little bit not disappointed with, but his team is Diogo Queiroz, because he's a player I've watched since he was in, the Porto youth team, even before they won the youth league, and he was a major part of that. He was, a rock at the back, and then obviously he's went to Famalicão, who aren't doing the best. So wanted to see a little bit more from, but that's not his fault. They've changed. Basically, they've bought an entire new squad, not even a starting 11. And then obviously the likes of Nuno Mendes, fantastic. Thomas Steves is playing well when he's been playing for Reading. So yeah, there's just so many names, to be honest. I've probably named about 15 players there. So
you gave a solid 15.
Yeah. There's just, to be honest, there's so much talent. We this isn't even a plug, but I did a piece recently on the website of sort of that golden generation and born in 1999. Just players from 1999. You could fill, a full match day squad with so much talent in there. I haven't even mentioned the likes of Trincao. So many players that just slipped the mind. So yeah, Rui Jorge has got a much tougher job than I have when having to select. So it'll be interesting to see what squad he goes with. But what about you guys? Have you got any names that sort of stick out?
I would, for purely club bias, I'm going to stick Inacio in there as well, and maybe Eduardo Crespo. I know hasn't played a lot, but
yeah,
from sort of like I think it was June onwards last year, he was incredible. I don't know what happened. I know it's a combination of injuries and COVID, but for me, I'd stick Inacio in there. I don't know if Danny would agree or not.
No, 1,000% agree. I would also stick in. Let me show everybody. I'd also stick in Tiago Tomás, Sam. I don't know about you, but speaking club bias,
there's a disagreement. I've saw this on Twitter and on one of the previous posts. There's a big disagreement over the TT fan club, isn't it?
It's literally everyone else is in the club but me, and I get absolutely shat on Twitter literally every time he does something well. It's like, do you see Tiago Tomás did this? It's like, oh, wow. Obviously, I would never want to hate all of my players as well. Yeah. But if they're not good enough, they're not good enough. But we'll get into that later.
I'm trying to think of another player not in Sporting though. Is Diogo Gonçalves from Benfica? Is he under 21? Because if so, I'd have him. He has a decent shot on him. I mean, he scored an amazing free kick not that long ago. I mean, Jorge Jesus loves to play fucking young players and fucking left back, so I can't blame him for not really shining that much. But I mean, he's a good talent. Abdallah saying Bragança, of course. I think Bragança might be a little older though, but you got to mention him if he is under 21.
Yeah, Diogo's 24. Diogo, so he just misses out on 23. Yeah, Bragança again. I know he's not eligible. He's another player. I just love to watch him play. Love his style of play. yeah, want to see more. But that's the thing that I like when there's a manager in charge, like Ruben Amorim, because I trust what he's doing with young players. So Sam, you alluded to it there. The likes of Eduardo Quaresma, he hasn't played as much. If that was another manager, I'd probably be panicking a little bit more and thinking what's happening behind the scenes. But for some reason, even though he's so inexperienced, Amorim, I think his promotion of youth is, you never know that. I mean, you always know that the problem isn't the age. The problem is always something else. And because with certain managers, you think, is it just that he's too young? He doesn't trust young players. Whereas with Amorim, he's shown if you're good enough, you're old enough. So that sort of removes that. It's okay. He's not playing because of his age. It might be something else, and then at least it stops with all the conspiracy theories. It might be anything from with these young players. It might be mistakes. It might be not working hard enough in training. It might be work ethic. He might just not trust them at this moment in time. But he's still so young, and as you said, Sam, towards the end of last season, he was fantastic. And then it's great to see Inacio come in and sort of pick up where Quaresma left off. I've been really impressed with him. I hadn't saw much of him either before this season. I'll be truthfully honest. So it's been good for him to come onto the radar, and I've been impressed.
Yeah, no, for sure. You and me both, dude. Abdallah also asks if Sporting wins the league, try not to jinx our campaign. Let me knock on wood as I say that. They will be at pot 1 next year in the group stage. We may get an easier group than our last campaigns, which is better advancing to the round of 16 or trying to compete in UEL. Which is better? Sam, I'll pass it to you. Which is better for us? Round of 16 of Champions League or compete in UEL? Of course, this is a day after Porto shocked the world. They lost 3-2, but won 4-4 in aggregate against Juve. So what would you prefer? I know what I prefer.
For me, just based on like the national stage, because I know they're both shown around the world, but like the Champions League, getting to the round of 16 in the Champions League, no matter what pot you're in, is quite a magnificent achievement. All teams in the Champions League, I know you've got some obscure nations sometimes, but every team in that competition is fantastic, and they all have their abilities. Whereas Europa League, there's more teams, there's more obscure teams. And as well as I think we might do better in the Europa League, I think, playing against those top teams like Juventus, and I know it came up, I think it was 2 days ago, that like nearly 10 years ago, or I think it was like 2012, 2011, when we beat Man City in Europa League. And I remember going into school the next day being like, I must have been, I think, maybe year 8, year 9, but I walk in and I'm like, yeah, my team beat Man City. Yeah, I walked around like I was worth £1 million, but like, it's just part of that. Like, I hate to say it, but I'm quite jealous of what Porto did yesterday. I would have loved to seen us do that. And it's not saying like I want to be Porto, but like, I reckon our time is coming for that.
Never that.
Yeah, but it's like,
I'm just kidding.
But it's like Juventus. I know we can say, it's one of the worst Juventus teams in a while, but it's still Juventus. And I remember we drew to Juventus a few years ago, and we were ecstatic. But to beat them, especially in a knockout phase, is fantastic. So credit to Porto, but for me, it's got to be the Champions League, just for the prize money and the natural and the stage. I'm going to go with Champions League.
I agree. Even Aaron, how about you as a neutral? Not even just Sporting related, but when it comes to the big three, what do you prefer? Like a Europa League win, or a long run in the Europa League, or a round of 16 knockout?
It's got to be the Champions League. Just in terms of, you said there, Sam, just getting to the round of 16. We saw so many teams. One that springs to my mind this year is Shakhtar Donetsk this year. They beat Real Madrid home and away and didn't qualify for the knockout round of the Champions League. So that's a testament to how difficult it can be. If you come up, I think they finished level on points with Inter, who were in second place. And that's what I mean when you're in a group with the likes of Real Madrid, and you're going there to the Bernabeu and you're beating them, which Shakhtar did, and you still don't qualify. It's like, it just shows that the strength and the quality of the tournament. And the Europa League, I'm a fan of the Europa League as well. I don't. A lot of people talk down on the Europa League. I'm a big fan. I always want, obviously, our teams to go far in the Europa League, but I just think the allure of the Champions League, you get put into a group stage, and there's a good chance, two of the teams that you're going to be coming up against are going to be top teams. Then that third team will be, and no disrespect as well, they're usually the more obscure nation, but I think, Porto watching that, it doesn't matter what you say about that Juventus side, they still went there, and they played for just over 70 minutes with extra time included, with 10 men. So you can say what you want, but when you're playing against the Italian champions and you've got 10 men for the majority of the night, and they know that if they score one more goal, the game's done, and you defend like that, and say from the neutral point of view, Pepe last night, 38 years of age, and how good is that? Just knowing, going into the Seleção matches, that you've still got like a warrior there who'll put his body on the line like that. So no, it's a fantastic night, and say all clubismo removed, it was a good night for Portuguese football. It was good to see. And Porto were the last sort of team. They're the only team outside of the top 5 leagues. So and I do hate that top 5 leagues, because I think but that's just my own personal gripe against coefficients. But
I'm with you though. I'm with you.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see Sporting go into the Champions League and sort of roll back the years, and no, that'd be amazing. The Europa League there's so many teams in it. Sometimes it can feel a little bit like oversaturated. The Champions League has still got that everything, the branding of it, like the theme song, like just everything about it at Champions League nights. So yeah. Definitely.
Last question from Abdallah. Who is the better striker between the names below in our youth teams? Aaron, I'm not sure how familiar you are. I've only seen a handful of games, to be honest. And I mean, Football Managers also fucking helped me out a lot with this knowledge. But yeah, Tiago Rodrigues, Paulo Agostinho, Skungland. I know he's Norwegian, and Shermetti. Yusuf Shermetti. I'm not sure how familiar you are, or Sam, I'm not sure how familiar you are. I'm going to speak on what I've seen lately, so it's definitely recency biased. I think the Norwegian has probably the best shot between the 4 of them, Skugland. I think he scored a banger not too long ago, maybe if not last week, the week before. If we're going off Football Manager, Shermetti is just an absolute beast. But that's Football Manager. Sam, I don't know if you have anything to add, or...
I will say one of our followers, and someone we've had like on the podcast comments quite a few times, and I'm going to butcher his name because I believe he's from Germany. Alex, I think it's Hartel or Hattel. He does scout reports on sporting youngsters, and I see him mention I think I'm going to butcher another pronunciation. Scotland. I don't know.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah,
Scotland, yeah. But he has a lot of comparisons, obviously the Norwegian comparison to players such as Haaland, But for me, I don't claim to watch a lot of youth games, but they're all highly rated from what the scout reports say. But for me, I'm going to go with that Scotland. I don't know if Aaron is familiar with any of them.
He'd be the one I'd go with. To be honest, I watched quite a bit of the Liga Grillovishow, and I think they all play, except for maybe is it Shermetti? I think he might be. Is he one of the youngest? I think it might be.
I think he might be like U19, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, whereas the other 3, I know Tiago Rodrigues, he plays a lot.
Yeah,
he plays a lot, but doesn't. If I'm right, doesn't score a lot. And I don't know, he is he? I don't think he's an out-and-out striker, though. I don't think he's like a proper number 9. I think he's like a false 9. I'm sure,
Agreed.
But I could be completely wrong. Someone could pull up his transfer market and he could score every week. But he's a player, I think, possibly gets more assists than he does goals. Then the Nikolai Skogland, he's the one I've heard the most about. He's the one whose name sort of rings out a little bit more. And that's usually an early indicator, because the people that really sort of focus in on those youth games, they love to get the name out there. So the fact I've heard more about him makes me think. But other than that, I haven't. No, I can't say I've heard the But it'll be funny if one of them turns out to be a complete whale beater and we come back to this podcast in 5 years' time and say, remember, we didn't even know who this guy was. So I always like things like this because I think in the future coming back to it. So yeah, keep an eye out for all of those. I know I will.
Same. Next question comes in from Joel Da Silva at JoelLeon_073. Would you accept swapping Nuno Mendes for Cristiano Ronaldo and Juve paying Ronaldo's salary? Duh. I'll answer that one. And last but not least, our boy Pietri, who actually left a comment. He's currently in the hospital waiting for the birth of his daughter. Shout out, fucking Pietri.
Shout out
love
to
you, bro.
That's amazing.
Love you for even listening to us on this special day.
Congratulations, Pietri.
Congratulations, bro. Hopefully all goes well. He asks, do we suspect the Tripes or the Lumps to be behind the conspiracy against Ruben Amorim? Sam, I'll pass that one more off to you. I won't let the neutral handle that because, I don't want to smear your neutral name.
Yeah, Aaron's got a brand to protect, so I'll take this one.
Exactly. Whereas we here at Sporting160EN don't give a fuck about our numbers.
I'll think so.
I mean, it's not like that far fetched, but like it is sort of a Portuguese thing that like whoever's top of the table usually does get the most accusations. And I'm not saying like Porto's history is like just accusations, because a lot of it has been proven, but like with Benfica as well, there's evidence there, but nothing's been proven in court. So it's just a Portuguese thing, and I've not had an English or a UK person on the podcast in ages, so I'm gonna say this is more like an episode of EastEnders. If you watch Portuguese League, that's how it goes. Some like shitty ass soap that goes on for ages, and there's never any resolution. And it's all a bunch of shit. But I mean, I just think we're in first. They're trying to destabilize us, and it's not going to work because I think we've got a strong bunch of lads there. But yeah, it's not far fetched, but I'm not going to say yes or no for that one.
Yeah, just on that, because I won't hide behind the curtain. I will get involved on this because why not? In terms of who to point the finger at, I don't know. But there's one thing that I will say. Firstly, I think it's a load of nonsense. I don't think it'll go anywhere, and I think it is something that's maybe engineered to sort of destabilise. We don't know who by. It's one of those things. But in terms of Sporting offering the contract to Amorim after knowing this information, sort of begs the question: if they thought there was any sort of danger to this, would they have went ahead and offered the contract? If they thought it was a real serious allegation, obviously their statement was very blunt as well. There was no, usually you think in a situation like this, the club would come out and be like, just to address the news that there's been, some of these accusations, and they sort of tiptoe around it. Sporting came out and said, this is a really sad day for Portuguese football. There's literally nothing in this. We've abided by every single law. Basically came out and said, we will not be found guilty of anything. And that is enough to say, right, well, where is this came from? It may not have been something engineered. It may just be that they've looked through the paperwork and thought something's not quite right here. And Sporting have just had to step in and say, everything is right. And then that's it. That's the end of the debate. And yeah, I think it's one of those things when you're at the top and when you're doing well, a lot of people prey on your demise. And when you're not particularly doing well, no one really cares. And I don't mean that about Sporting. I mean that in football in general. Not even football, just society, life in general. When you're at the top, people, try and throw rocks at you to bring you down. Whereas if you're already down there, no one cares. It's, why would you be bothered? So, yeah, the more successful you get, the more things like this tend to happen. As I say, we don't know where it came from, but it's not good to see. And this type of thing, in terms of registering coaches as assistant coaches, when they're not qualified to be head coaches, but they're acting unofficially as a head coach, this happens before. This has happened before. This happens, often. It's only really getting brought to light maybe because the team in question are top of the league. That's just sort of my take on it. So, yeah.
No, agreed. And we might as well just quickly touch this topic while we're at it now as well. Let me just give my 2 cents as well. First off, happy birthday to Abdallah, 29, almost 30, buddy. So shout out to you, my legend. I also just wanted to say to a similar vein. It's like the league or the whoever it is that I don't quite understand exactly who it is that's coming after them like that. They're being quite ridiculous because Ruben Amorim just finished his professional career not too long ago. For him to get his full licensing, it's going to take him around 8 years, from what I've understood. So to expect the guy, I mean, one, he's already killing it without it. So it should be credit to the courses that he's already been taking, because I mean, Portugal has been producing some of the best managers in the world. This can be a badge of honor for Portuguese coaching association, whatever it is. That, you know, a guy who doesn't have all his badges, doesn't have all the European badges, currently has Sporting after a 19-year drought in first, looking like they're about to win their first trophy. You know, like I said, in almost 20 years. So the fact that they're coming after Sporting like that, it's exactly like you said, Aaron. And it's like I have a really good friend, Patrick, who's a Portista, and he says this every year. Anytime any team comes in first, and I've noticed this a lot in the Portuguese league, there's always something behind it, always some sort of, whether true or not, there's always some sort of like stain on it. You know, and to me, I think this is just another thing that's happening for Sporting because we just so happen to be in first. But like you said, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, we talked about the game yesterday. I don't know what does Pirlo potentially have as his badges, and if he does have the full badges, I mean, look at the shit show that happened. You know, to be blunt, Juventus should never, like, as credit to Porto, but if we're looking at it, the amount of money they're spending, Juventus should never be losing to Porto. You know, they have the best player in the world, potentially one of the best players ever to play the game in their team. You know, it's just another thing, another attack on Sporting because we just so happen to be in first, and it's just funny that it's only happening now because when he was in Braga, no problem. When we had Silas last year, no problem. Paulo Bento, no problem. We weren't winning the league. There's other names that just aren't coming to mind. It's just quite funny because we just so happen to be in first. Yeah. Sam, I don't know if you want anything to add on to that. If not, take it away with some of the talking points to Aaron.
Yeah, I don't know if you're talking about that graph that was on Portuguese TV of the pictures of the coach didn't have their badges. I think Conceição was one of them before he was at Nantes and at Porto. I can't remember what team it was. So he
was at Guimarães, I believe.
I think so. And then there was Vitor Oliveira, which rest in peace, but he was spoken about by Amorim at the start of the season. So there was that one as well. But there's quite a few. So basically, it shouldn't be a big deal, but because it's Sporting, it is. But anyway, we do have a few questions for you, Aaron. We call this the hot seat. So no pressure at all. Literally, they're all opinion based. There's no right or wrong answer. But before we move on to sort of the Portuguese side of things, we all know you're a massive Everton fan. Doing very well this
for my
year.
sins.
Doing very well. I mean, it's a bit of a weird league table, but credit to Everton and like teams like West Ham, Leicester, who are playing phenomenal. But I just want to know your thoughts in general about Everton's season. What are you hoping for? What are your expectations, and what have you thought so far?
It's been a good season. I mean, it's been frustrating because what we do a lot is we love to bottle it. So what we love to do is we love to get about 6 or 9 points off from sort of taking that next step, and then what we do is we win. We go on these winning runs, but we don't seem to move in the table. And then the next game is always right. If you win this, you'll go into the top 4. Like, you will leapfrog whoever's above you. And we're like, nah. And then we'll go on like a 2 or 3 game sort of run without winning. And then we do the same thing and we drop to 7th, 8th. And then we sort of do the same thing. So the biggest, some of the results we've had this season, we've beat Tottenham away. We've beat Liverpool at Anfield for the first time since 1999. We beat Chelsea. We beat Arsenal. We beat Leicester. And then we've lost to Fulham, which was like a week after. And it just those type of games where it's very, very hit and miss. Very, very hit and miss. But I think if this season, if you can make there's a Champions League and a Europa League place there for the side that wants to put together a run of consistent form. And I think if there's any time that we're going to do it, it'd be this season. with this manager in charge, I mean, it's ridiculous that he's even. We still can't believe it as Evertonians is because we haven't got the best squad, and we've had like lots and lots of injuries. I know people love to talk about injuries, but we had a period of games where we were without the likes of Lucas Digne, James Rodriguez, Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Alan. The Decore's just broken his foot like 3 days ago.
Ruined
so
my fantasy team. I'm so annoyed.
It's one of those. It's he gets a lot out of the squad that he's got, and all it does is make me think. Imagine what he can do when he's got his own team, because he hasn't got his own team. He only took over at the midpoint of last season. The signings that we've sort of brought in so far have done okay, and yeah, I mean,
I'd say James is about his only like true signing there. That's the only thing that you can say that Ancelotti was like, that's my guy, I need him. You know, I mean, Alan maybe too, but James to a T. Like that was even that just. And the first couple of games of the season, it was ridiculous watching him. Mm-hmm.
It was
against Tottenham, especially that first game. I remember. Oh my god, he was looking like prime James.
It's just mad because you're watching him, and as Evertonians, like I'm a season ticket holder. My one wish is I want to be inside the ground while Ancelotti's managing and James is on the pitch, like because I still haven't seen him play live, which is mental because. Obviously, you're still paying each month for your season ticket and you get nothing back. But like, yeah, it's mad because you watch him, and me and my mates would be watching it and we're sort of looking at each other and we're like, why is he at Everton? Like, why is he not? Like, this guy's world class. Like, he's ridiculous. On his day, he's an absolutely ridiculous player. The assist to Richarlison in the derby against Liverpool, like just the touch to bring it down and then that way to pass. And you're thinking, there's not many players who could have made that look so effortless. So yeah, it's been a mixed season so far. But I think we've got a nice run of fixtures coming up, to be honest. So who knows? Can we sort of finally do that thing where we push past the glass ceiling, as it were, or will we, fall short? Who knows? Hope it's the former.
Yeah, no problem. There was one question that I had that I really wanted to get your opinion on. And I'm not sure if Danny can chime in on it on his end, but I noticed it with the first leg, especially of this Porto Juventus game, that when it's like English pundits turn to talk about Liga NOS, there's always like for Porto, it was literally Pepe. That's it. Like there are so many, like Taremi's had a good season. There are so many Porto players, and even in like seasons before where we've played like Chelsea, City, whatever, it's almost like there's that one recognizable name, and they talk about Juventus or they talk about someone else. What do you think that needs to change, and how would you like to see it change? And another talking point onto it, because I know probably it's a license thing as well. I'm not sure how like clips and like stuff they can talk about, but do you think it should be more beneficial for like viewers, especially in ones that aren't familiar with Portuguese football, for that to happen?
I think in terms of how do we change sort of the narrative, and that's because Portugal have been producing top players for years, and the narrative hasn't really changed. I mean, according to the media, we didn't deserve Euro 2016. Pepe, if you would have asked most pundits who watched the game, they'd have probably said, is he even still playing? Like, they don't watch the Primera Liga, they don't watch Liga NOS. And then, like, the BT pundits, they were talking about it yesterday, like, never seen him play like this. It's like, every single big game he steps up. They know him because he played for Real Madrid. That's basically the top and bottom of it. The way that he changed it is, I think, just not by moaning and crying about it, but just continually just doing exactly what we're doing now. Whereas a couple of seasons ago, maybe you get one team in the Champions League in the group stage, and one plays a qualifier and sometimes doesn't make it. And then you've got Europa League teams. Some of them don't get out of the group, and the only way that you're ever going to get into the forefront is by being in these competitions and playing all the time and becoming a more recognised league. And you've got to think, the pundits, they only sort of watch. It's crazy to say, but some of them don't have a wealth of football knowledge. And I'm not saying I have a better
100%.
football knowledge, but I think a lot of people will watch and think, they'll listen to something they'll say and they'll think that this guy, you can tell this guy hasn't watched my team, especially if you support someone like a Porto, Sporting, Benfica, because they might be giants in Portugal, but if you think this is a pundit who goes to Champions League games and watches, all these top teams, isn't, they don't feel obliged to know that much about these teams. So yeah, they know the obvious players, but other than that, but I think like this season, going into next season, you got 2 guaranteed teams going into the Champions League group stages. You got a potential third that will be playing a qualifier, a playoff. The teams in the Europa League, I hope they make it. The more Portuguese teams in these competitions, the better. The more they have to be a talking point because they're there. You don't have to talk about Portuguese teams, Portuguese players, if they're getting knocked out the competition in the group stage every year. So I think the way that we get into the forefront of fans around the world, and like the one thing that grinds my gears the most is the Farmers League narrative.
I hate it.
But I think what's crazy is it's one of those things you can't really argue with people like that. The proof has just got to be in the pudding. So when they say Farmers League, I say, right, well, Bruno Fernandes, Premier League's his playground. He's treating it like it's his playground, and you've seen Ruben Dias, João Cancelo, Bernardo Silva. They're playing for what probably are the best team in club football in the world at the minute, and they're 3 main parts of that as well. Liverpool's season was completely before Diogo Jota. It was falling apart then. It was only Diogo Jota was in the team scoring winners, getting them out of jail. If he were in that team, they would have fell away a lot earlier than that. So Portuguese players are making an impact. They just need more, always more.
Agreed.
Yeah,
agreed. And just to add on that too, I mean, it us being in the Champions League, all 3 of us also just does well for the league as well in just general. I mean, if you
100%.
look, when Sporting pushed for the league in 15-16, they came up against, I mean, a few other things, but they came up against a good Benfica team that had to push them past the already record number of points that Mourinho was on. But I also think a lot of this Farmers League bullshit comes from like Twitter like Premier League Twitter fans don't really look outside of like England. Like they'll praise the championship, but then they'll talk bad about the French league. Where like Chelsea Premier League fans will like jerk off N'Golo Kante like he didn't come from Le Havre, which is like the 2nd division in France.
Second division. Just gonna grab a tissue.
Exactly. Of course. And let me just say, I can say this because I have a United shirt hanging right there, so I can talk shit about Premier League teams.
Yeah, but like for me as well, in a group chat with all my friends from school, or like whenever we talk about football, like I can't talk about Sporting without like Farmers League and like he's not good until he proves it. But like when I speak to people I don't really know, like I used to do it a lot for some reason, like nightclubs and like pubs, and it would be like, oh yeah, they'd be like, oh, who's Sporting's best player? And I'd be like, oh, Sebastian Quarters is a good player. It's like that guy, the guy who flopped for Sunderland, the guy who was it's like he is like really good. But like like you said, there's no change in people's minds. Like I don't think that narrative will ever change. But it's their loss really. It's not really.
I think you've got to just go, and the way to change people's opinions sounds so obvious to say, but the way to change people's opinions is for the teams to just go and change their opinions. But it's by performing constantly on a constant basis, because you think about it like this, Premier League fans especially will talk down on the likes of La Liga. You've only got to cast your mind back a couple of years. They go on, La Liga go on this complete and utter European dominance where they're dominating the national teams, they're winning every Champions League, they're winning every Europa League, the likes of Sevilla, they're competing, and then they start to get respect. And now I've noticed like the narrative with the Spanish teams is that they've started to sort of falter a little bit. Now they're back to being the Farmers League, and the Premier League's the best league in the world. So it constantly fluctuates and change. And I think the more teams that you have competing week in, week out, and the more. I mean, Portugal. You can't really say the more players Portugal produces because they've produced enough. Do you know what I mean? They've produced enough, like it, to change people's opinions. If they don't want to believe it, they don't have to. But you look at any major league in Europe, and there's a Portuguese player there who'll be pulling up trees somewhere. Bundesliga, Rafael Guerreiro, Andre Silva, the second top scorer, he's level with Erling Haaland. You hear a lot more about Erling Haaland than you do about Andre Silva. Neither are German, so why do we hear more about one than the other?
True.
Do you know, it's because one plays for Borussia Dortmund and one plays for Eintracht Frankfurt. So it's which I think is more testament, if anything, to Andre Silva, because he doesn't
have the better pieces around him to help him score.
Exactly. One's playing in the Champions League, and one's this season looking to get, to qualify for the Champions League. So it's that's the thing, is that I think football is all about narratives. It's important not to get drawn into football Twitter, as in the fan base that will just reply under every single one of your tweets saying like ratio, like full stop, like this or that, don't care, farmer. It's like, you're
going to get a lot of those now, probably.
No, they don't watch this podcast. Thank God. Thank God.
They haven't infiltrated the Sporting160 team yet. Just yet.
Just yet. I'm sorry, Sam. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to pull it just a bit back to the Portuguese league with a simple question, because me and Sam have, we obviously have a certain tie to Sporting, but of course you're an Evertonian, simple enough. Why the fuck are you watching the Portuguese league? Like, what about Portugal, the Portuguese league is enticing to you? Because, as mentioned a bit earlier, even with the Ruben Amorim situation, like, as a Sporting fan, I have so many gripes towards this league and this association of football. What drew you onto it?
To be honest, it was, I always say, is it's not one of those things where you pick. It's sort of pick me. It wasn't like I got into this when I was 16 or 17 and made a conscious choice. I've been watching Portugal since I can remember. I don't know what it is. I still cannot, to this day, sort of put my finger on it. I remember growing up and watching Seleção, and I was always just a football fan. And watching that sort of Euro 2000 team, and then sort of the fallout after it in World Cup 2002, I was 8. So going into, or 7, and then going into Euro 2004, I was a little bit at Euro 2004. I had a full Portugal kit. We used to, in England, obviously we school uniforms. We used to have like an own clothes day. So that would be like sort of once every 2 weeks or whatever. And every time it was the Portugal strip, every single time. And I wanted to, when I played football, all my mates did shout like Gerrard, Michael Owen, Rooney, Lampard. I was shouting Luis Figo, Cristiano Ronaldo. Even just it was something about it. And then obviously you had the Jose Mourinho team of Porto in 2004 at the same time. So it was sort of coming to the fore. And then I think as a kid you can become infatuated with things and then you forget about them, and it's like, remember I used to really be into this, or remember I used to really be into that. As a kid you're drawn to things. This just never left me ever. And I've never had an England kit ever. I didn't want one. I wanted to support Portugal. That was always the way it was. And then the club side sort of came into it as I got older, because you can start accessing games online now, and you can, through whatever sort of means you find necessary. But you got to think, like, back in 2003, 2004, I didn't know how to go online and watch a game. I just watched what was on the TV, whether it be the Champions League, European Championships, the World Cup in 2006. And then when I got to about 16 or 17, was it? Yeah, I think it was around about then. That's when I was like, every Premier League game possible, I was just watching it. 17, 18, I started flying to Portugal just to watch games and then come home on my own. So like, it was just, and then when I got to maybe 19 or 20, I would, it was just like an obsession then. It was just an obsession. And then a friend of mine moved to Lisbon from Liverpool. So I went over there, and then I just finished university, doing English literature. So I was studying there, and so I was into writing, I was into editing, I was into producing content, and I was like, I wish there was like a website kind of like Proxima Jornada, but obviously it didn't exist at this point. And I really loved, well, I still do to this day, Portugal, ran by Tom Cundert, who's obviously just a wonderful person.
OG
And
of the Twitter scene as well.
And a Sportingista as well. And I hope people know that. I'm just put him on blast there. But yeah, it was like I wanted to do something similar to that, but do it different. I didn't just want to copy that because there'd be no points. So we started to do things a little bit different, and then a little bit differently, and then I didn't know whether people were going to be interested in it. I just started up a Twitter page, and then I started a website, and it was basically my way of telling the world, like, I love Portuguese football. I love everything about it. I'm going to write about it, and if you're interested in it, you're interested in it, and if you're not, that's cool. We move regardless, and we're here now, like 3 years later, and it's doing okay. So yeah.
Well, I'll say a bit more than okay. You've got loads of followers, and you get loads of interactions. I know you get quite a lot of like viral tweets as well. Like not just because you're here, but one of my like habits is to just go through your timeline and literally just look at, because I know you've got a team of writers as well, like a freelance journalists and stuff that write. Is it Marino who's a part of your team?
No, he's not a part, but he's like a really good friend of mine. We're actually planning to do a podcast next week before the international break. Marino Peixoto, yeah. So last time I was in Lisbon, so we met up and we spent like the week together, and met up with Tom as well. So it's good. There's so many like-minded people who are into the same thing. And then there's a newish writer, Philippe Melo. He's on the podcast. He's just became the co-host on the podcast now because he did a segment on one of the first podcasts, and people really liked them. People in the DMs were like, the guy you speaking about the tactics was, he was spot on, and he's a Portuguese guy. He's living in England, so I was like, do you want to do the podcast with me? We'll sort of bounce off each other. So he's fantastic. And then there's other writers who will just message and say, can I write a piece? And I'm like, yeah. Like that's if you want to write about Portuguese football and you want to be able to say, I put it on this website and it gained this many impressions and shares and stuff, then be my guest. And I think becoming an accredited journalist was like a big thing, because that allowed, it was obviously pre-COVID, that meant like you can start going to games and you can start meeting players, interviewing players, and that was when I was like, yeah, this feels a little bit. This feels a bit real now. Like the interview with Ricardo Pereira was like the first. I remember going to Leicester and just being in the training ground. And I was like, and in my head I was like, this is crazy. Like, this isn't. Does he know how insane this is? But obviously, you just get treated as if you're a proper journalist. And then in my head, I'm like, am I a proper journalist? Like you start thinking, am I a fraud? Like what? And then we put the interview out, and it was just. It did really well, and I thought, oh my word, like people actually like this sort of stuff. And like, I'm not just saying this because I'm on the podcast, but podcasts like this and the Twitter page has like people who they don't cover the entire league or the entire country, but they focus in solely on one club because of they're so passionate about it. And it's not even just the football club, but it's everything. The modalidades, it's literally everything. And the same thing with the guys at Benfica after 90, like Mario and people like that. They're amazing. There's the guy who runs a Porto page, I forget the name. He's really, all these people like reach out, and it's like it gets a reputation as a bit of a toxic place, Portuguese football sometimes, but when you come into the game like a neutral like me, you get the best of everything. It's just so it is really, really really nice. It's been I don't know what's next for us, to be honest. Just hopefully more content, more. I just want COVID to go so we can start traveling and doing bigger and better things. But yeah, it's guys like you on this podcast that keep me updated with particular clubs and stuff like that. So yeah, kudos to you.
Thank you very much. But like as we said, yeah, keep up. It's honestly such
killing it.
Yeah, it's like a community over there. Like going through just the replies, going through like some of the articles you've got on there is just fantastic. But to that point, I'm just gonna not really quiz you, but I want to have your opinion because you said you've been watching Portuguese football for a long time. Can you name me a starting 11 of your favorite ever Liga NOS players?
Oh, that's a good question. Starting 11 of my favourite ever Liga NOS players.
You can choose formation, by the way. You can choose like whatever. If you want to just go, 10 attackers, 1 goalkeeper.
We're gonna overload on the left-hand side and then switch. 10 attackers and 1 goal. Yeah, good. No, to be honest, goalkeeper is it's not a left field shout, but he wasn't in the league for that long. But I loved him growing up, and Iker Casillas was just, and I think he was brilliant as well for Porto. And then everything that happened in terms of obviously when he had to stop playing and he had his health issues, and then he always struck me. I've never met him, I'd love to meet him one day, but he always comes across as just such a good guy, and what a player as well, what a fantastic player, and to have him in the Liga was like. That was just an amazing moment.
Signing. Yeah. I remember at the time it was all over like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It was one of those signings that was like I know the league was already sort of on the map, but like he was one that really elevated it. So yeah, I'd agree with that as well.
And he could have went as well. He could have went to any number of leagues and earned a lot more than he was earning at Porto, because obviously they had the financial issues because they were paying wages and stuff. But I can tell you now, the wage that Porto would have been paying him, he would have been able to go to MLS because he was nowhere near finished or anything like that. Yeah. And these leagues are becoming more competitive. It's not like it was where you can, retirement leagues. So yeah, the fact that he chose Portugal, I was just like amazing. And then I'm not even going to do it. I'm just going to reel off some of my favourite because I'll end up picking 9 left wingers as as a former winger. Let me think. I've got to have Cristiano in there, even though I've got to, because I know some people will say I'm cheating because he didn't play for too long, but even to be honest,
he'll come home soon. Don't worry, he'll come home soon.
That would be amazing. Like that'd be so good. I hope his mum is constantly saying that to her, Dolores. I hope she's just saying like, you do see me on Instagram every week with the sporting scars and the like. She'd love nothing more for him to come home. Like imagine her seeing her son playing for her beloved club. When she's of retirement age and she's just relaxing and she flicks on the TV or whatever and she sees Ronaldo in the green and white like that. It's just a wonderful story. So I'd love to see that happen. Quaresma, everyone knows, is one of my favourite ever players. I've well documented. And people always talk about the career that he had as well and how it could have went this way and it could have went that way. And like, I understand that, but at the same time, I don't know, I wouldn't change anything about him, because I think it's just made him that sort of maverick that he is. Even now, him coming back and playing for Vitória in Guimarães is just amazing. Like he's just such a great player. Who else? I'm just covering just legends here. To be fair, the 2004 Porto team is one of the things that sticks out in my mind. That team, and then obviously when they split, and I got to see more of those players, which made me then go back and watch. Because when I saw like the likes of Carvalho at Chelsea, absolutely tearing it up and setting records for least goals conceded, that made me want to then go back and watch. Okay, let me see the season where they won the league under Mourinho and they won the Champions League and see how he did there. Nuno Valente, the fullback, he came to Everton, so I got to sort of see it firsthand. He weren't at his best, but again, that was like an amazing moment. I can never just pick like 11 players, can I? I always have to just go off on mad tangents.
Let me just say on that 2000, just to add on to that, on that 2004 team, Ricardo Carvalho to this day, yeah, exactly. To this day, Ricardo Carvalho is my favorite center back, and Deco, like you just mentioned, my favorite ever midfielder. Both played for the fucking Scums. but my testament to that team, because that team was incredible. And anybody that knows me, Jose Mourinho is like literally my favorite manager of all time too. Like, say he's washed or not, but I don't care. Like, to me, he's the best. So yeah, just testament to that. Like, that team was incredible.
Yeah. And I always feel like as well, obviously it's a personal team for me rather than like the best that's ever played, because you got to think I started getting into Portuguese football in around 2000, 2002, but I only really, in terms of the clubs, sort of knew what was going on 2006, 2008, and then as it became more available going into the future. So I always feel like I'm leaving out great players, and but at the end of the day, you can only really comment on who you've watched. And even the likes of Deco, like, I wish I'd been old enough to see him more. I remember him obviously going to Chelsea and going to Barcelona and that sort of era. But I was thinking, if you were born like 10 years prior, like, I always think of people like Tom. You mentioned Tom Cundert. He's seen every like great side. He's seen, like, obviously within his age, but like the likes of like the 90s team, like the 2001-02, the Sporting team, the league champions. Like, he would be able to player for player tell you exactly how many players, who scored how many goals that season, who assisted who. There's so many like just iconic names, and I love the fact that so many of them are returning. Nico Gaitan coming back to the league, that's amazing. Like, I loved Nico Gaitan growing up, like those type of players. So to be honest, I'll be here all day if I just keep reeling off players. Have I missed anyone really obvious?
For me, just up front, watching Jackson Martins and Falcao together was like, as much as they caused me so much pain. My God, they were so them too. Yep, James. Joe Martino, even though he's a snake, but like
that Andre Villas-Boas, that unbeaten side, the Europa League winning side, unbelievable. I still now always think like that team and the 2004 team and sort of comparing them, and obviously they played completely different football as well. You got to remember, and one won the Europa League and one won the Champions League. So again, it's not really fair to compare them in that way. But that team, the Hulk, even the likes of Varela, as you say, Falcao, ridiculous. What a team that is. I'm trying to focus in on some more obscure players, the ones from outside, but it's hard, isn't it? Because when they get to a certain level, a certain magnitude, they either then go abroad or go to one of the big three. So
yeah, exactly.
Lee Edson with the sticks in my mind with the backwards S on the shirt, like that. Things like that, like just that random trivia that lives in this brain of mine. Like they like misprinted the shirt and they had the S backwards, and you can see pictures of it. And then he wore a shirt like that a couple of times. I don't think he wore it for his entire career, but like stuff like that like sticks in my mind as a kid. Like, and then going on to being like getting YouTube for the first time. Like, isn't it mad to think we lived in a world without like constant access to the internet? I remember YouTube. First thing I did was typing in all these I'd type in onto Google like best Portuguese players, best players to play in the Portuguese, and it will come up with names like Eusebio and Beriteo, and like just like, and I'm like 10-year-old me is watching like the 5 violins on YouTube in black and white, like, and people are like, what's this kid up to? So there's so many.
Yeah, that's fine. Danny, did you want to give a shot at 11?
Oh, 11? No.
Or even just,
it's hard, isn't it? When you're thinking of positions, it is difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'll try to think of a guy you missed. That's what I was trying to think of, a smaller team too, but you took the one I was going to say, Lietzen. I'm a big fan of Fabio Rochenbach. I don't know how much you watched him back in the day. At Sporting, I know he went to Barca and kind of flopped. In Middlesbrough, he had a little spell, but at Sporting, even both times, the second time wasn't as good. That first time, I fell in love with the guy too. Yeah, I can't think of much else.
For me, for like a personal reason, Jeremy Mathieu in like the sort of last few seasons. I know you can't really compare him to like the Pepe, the Caracavalis, but for me, watching him play, was just fantastic.
Yeah. fantastic player, especially in like that, as you say, you don't really want to compare because you always think about how these players have got such like legendary status. But then, I mean, for what he meant for the Sporting team, some of the performances he used to put in, he was heroic. Like I loved it. Obviously, he got the injury at the end and sort of halted his career a bit prematurely, even though he was sort of getting on. But that ending, like the pictures of him going to the training ground and like the play, you could see what it meant to the club when he decided to leave it. And I think that shows you the impact of a player when how his fellow like teammates in the club sort of responded. And again, he's another player that, you know, you type his name into Twitter and scroll back far enough, Barcelona fans just like he's like meme status to some of those. And what's crazy is like a meme player for someone at one club can be, you know, a complete hero at someone else. So that's another thing about the pharmacy thing. You touched on it before, I think, Sam, when you talked about Coates and Liverpool and Sunderland, and it's like you compare him to now, he's scoring 93rd minute winners, you know. So it's to be fair, he'd get into Liverpool's team up front at the minute. But, shots fired!
Yeah, I'm just gonna rattle off a few names. We will move on because I know we're a bit time conscious. But like, I'm not gonna say like they would make like the starting 11 of like an all-time Liga NOS. But for me, I know he's remembered for that miss. But Brian Ruiz in that first season was phenomenal. Like, I still watch videos of him now. Yeah. He was so good, but all he's remembered for is that miss, and that actually like really makes me upset because like he was like one of the integral parts of that team and the reason we were so good. I mean, I would name some of the guys who came from the academy, but like I can't associate like Patricio and like the like
you can still mention them though. I still think, I know we're heartbroken, but if you look at the whole, especially my whole lifetime, I can't name a better goalkeeper than Patricio in the Portuguese league. Maybe Vitor Bahia, because I'm still kind of in that.
It's actually,
but maybe only that.
Got to
and helping me
for me first, but it's like it's still too raw to me.
Throw up now. I defended Patricio. Give me a sec.
No, I can understand why it'd be
sensitive. Sorry, go ahead, Sam. My bad.
But no, I saw in the comments Matias Fernandes, Matty Goal as well. I loved watching him growing
Matty
up.
Goal, man.
But like, yeah, I think we nailed it. But I think just for time reasons, I think you answered those questions brilliantly. Like so good. Your knowledge is just fantastic. Much more than me.
About half an hour. So
just 2 quick questions though from our audience. First, 2 quick ones. Richard Neves asks Portugal's joint bid with Spain for the World Cup in 2030. Just general thoughts and where games could be played. You think it's even a good idea for us to have a joint bid with Spain? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the presidents of the association, they said recently, the Spanish Federation, I think it was, said that they'll give Portugal a couple of grounds. I can't remember how many alluded to. Is it 4 or 5? I think it was a small fraction. I remember there was a sort of a bit of an outrage, and it was like, yeah, you'll just give Portugal like a couple. But then I think in terms of population and country size, if you actually did the percentages of how many they'd have, and then there was another thing of, because you've got to have a certain capacity, and I cannot remember for the life of me what it is. But people were saying online, Portugal doesn't have the grounds for it. They don't have. I think the capacity thing was they only had maybe 4 eligible stadiums, and obviously the 3 obvious ones. But the whole point is, when you do a bid, you select stadiums that are already built who have got room to extend capacity. So what I did was I went back and I looked at failed bids, because I'm a sad individual and that's what I do in my spare time. And like, for example, I looked at I can't remember what country it was, but they selected seven stadiums that didn't have the capacity, and each one they basically right next to it like plus 15,000. Like, we're going to add 15,000 seats. This one needs 8,000. This one needs 20,000. So in terms of going for a bid, it means that the certain grounds that can be built on become bigger, and obviously, you know, that's great to have, you know, huge stadiums in Portugal. But then also, it always looks a bit rubbish when you've got a massive stadium and you don't fill it. So there's that sort of point to it. But I think it'd be a good thing. I think Portugal have shown in the past how well they can. People still say Euro 2004 is one of the best organised tournaments ever. And obviously I weren't there. I was too young. But apparently the structuring of it, the way that they did it, the sort of all the players were really happy with it. The training camps, everything was perfect from start to finish in terms of the actual organisation of the tournament. And I know people who went to that tournament and all the journalists and stuff, and they all say the vibe in Portugal, and especially because the Portuguese people are just amazing. So you've got legions of people from other countries coming in, and you know, you want to be respectful because of how well the Portuguese people treat them. So that's another thing, is that that's like one of the tournaments with the least amount of trouble, like fan trouble, because it just seemed like everyone there just adopted this Portuguese attitude of just like, just chill, we'll chill out, Sagres, have a super bock, whatever, we chill, we'll go watch the game, you know, and get on with the locals and sort of mix well. So yeah, from a footballing perspective, I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. And in terms of how many grounds you get, you know, it may not be a lot, but detrimental in terms of detrimental effects on the country. People will always talk about finances. Should the money be spent in better places? And that's a real, you know, suit and tie debate. From a purely footballing perspective, I'd love it. Plus, I'd be able to go, so I'd be absolutely made up. So I'd love to do that. Yeah.
Facts. And last question. You sort of answered it, but this is more, I guess, Juicebox Leal is asking more if you fell also in love with the country of Portugal, the culture. Do you speak any Portuguese?
That's I can see that. That's a wonderful question. Yeah. So yeah, the in terms of falling in love with the country, 100%. What that's actually, when you asked me before about this, how I sort of got into it, that's one thing I didn't really touch upon, is if I was that besotted by the football, but it was just the football, probably would have been something I'd left behind. But there was something about Portugal that made me keep going back. And obviously we had lots of family holidays with my family there. That's where we always used to go. I used to love the people there, the food, everything about it, the cities. I love going and exploring different places. And then in terms of speaking it, it's getting there. It's difficult, but if you follow my personal account, actually, I document when I'm doing.
You can plug it if you want, by the way, if you want to just.
That's just, to be honest, it's just me. It's Adam Barton,
UK, I think,
my guy. Yeah, that's it. Adam Barton, UK. Yeah, the that is just musings on like life and stuff away from football. But I'll constantly post like Portuguese, like speaking updates, and I do like online classes. It was a lot easier before COVID because I had a tutor, Portuguese tutor, and then she stopped. But I feel like the best way to learn is just by being there. I mean, people they hear your accents and straight away they'll start speaking English, and I'll just be like, no, eu preciso praticar. Like, please let me speak Portuguese. And then like, oh, sing. And then you just, that's it, you speak. But everything about it, the country, what a place.
Agreed. And that's the same with me. Even like, okay, I grew up in a Portuguese household, right? So my Portuguese, obviously I'm a bit better because I have more exposure to it, but it's kind of at an level. Anytime I go to Portugal 1 week there, I feel like I'm fluent because it's just constantly practicing and all the interactions. You know, it's way better. Anyways, let's go straight into the huge 2-1 win at home against Santa Clara. Let me quickly throw up the starting 11, and Aaron, I'm going to get your thoughts on it. But our 11 was as followed. We had Azan in net. We had Fadal Coates, Ignacio in the back, Nuno Mendes, Mateus Nunes as right wing back, João Mario and Pelinha. In the midfield, Gonçalves, Tiago Tomás, and Tabata. Up top with substitutions of Mateus Reis, Nuno Santos, and Daniel Bragança, and Jovan, who actually almost scored at the end. Aaron, thoughts on this game?
I thought Santa Clara approached the game very well. It was always going to be difficult for, in particular, Mateus Nunes. You can see just how important Pedro Porro is to the team in terms of what he brings defensively and offensively. And if you watch the first half, Santa Clara tried to play down his side. They kept playing balls over the top. In fact, I think it was 10 or 15 minutes in was when they had their sort of big chance in the first half. They put a ball over and Mateus Nunes just sort of coming centrally, and him and Inacio nearly sort of run into each other because spatially he's a bit like, he's in a completely different, which is completely understandable. Right. He's in a completely different role, and he adapted. I didn't think he did terribly. Some people were really, really critical, but he's never going to put in a Pedro Porro performance because he's not Pedro Porro. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. And that's Jovan chance you were mentioning then. That would have been a Coates assist as well, wouldn't it? Coates, yep. So I love the fact that he just decides to go and be a striker with like 10 minutes to go. He just before the goal as well. He had a header that just went over. I think they played a good game. I spoke about it on the podcast that came out today. Is Santa Clara really? They gave Sporting questions to think about, and I don't even mean just the goal, the fact that it was 1-1. I mean in terms of the overall performance. But I've spoke time and time again about this Sporting team and why it feels different to me than Sporting teams in the past, and that is because I feel like they have such good character that when teams defend well, and when teams will sit in a low block, and when teams will sort of frustrate them, they always find a reason. They always find a way to overcome. They always find a way to do it. And you saw that again, 93rd minute, Coates goal. But, I've spoke at length, especially the games that they played on the islands against Maritimo, when the weather was really, really bad a couple of months back. Those type of games where it was like, right, off the coach, we're here. You get 3 points and you come back home. That's it. It doesn't have to be the best performance. It doesn't have to be this like wonderful array of attacking talents and every single player putting in a 10 out of 10 performances. Can you defend well, and can you beat the opponents? And that's what he did well. I think for the Pedro Gonçalves goal, Balinha does wonderfully well, where he cuts out there's a pass that comes to him, and it's like the turn that he does, and he plays it off to João Mario, who then plays it into Bruno Tabata. Was a wonderful goal. And then I feel like it wasn't the approach. It wasn't so much Sporting resting on the laurels and thinking, right, we've got an advantage, we've got a lead, let's just see this out. You've got to give Santa Clara credit. They frustrated them. They wouldn't let Sporting play, and that was why you saw the game that you saw. But in the end, I mean, the final whistle's blown and Sporting win the game. It wasn't the best performance. In fact, it was probably one of the worst performances of the season, but it's 3 points, 2 goals scored, and still at the top of the table. And I feel that's why this season the Sporting team is different. It's just built different.
No, facts. I 1000% agree. Sam, how about you, dude?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much hit the nail on the head there. I think it was probably one of our worst performances this year. I mean, if you look at stats, I think the game tells a different story. We had 59% possession, but we didn't do much with it. We only had 4 shots on target in the whole game, and I think that's due to, I know I'm going to get stick for this on Twitter, but Thiago Tomas is not good enough. Like I said, I never want to see a player do bad or anything, but I know it's difficult with Paulinho's injury, but one thing about Sporting this year, which is really weird, is how we got rid of Sporar to get Paulinho, but then our main strikers as backup are Thiago Tomas and Jovan. I know we've got the people in the B team that are registered, but they're not ready. But Pedro Mendes, he might not have been good enough to start, but he was loaned out to Nacional. I believe we've got Pedro Marquez. I'm not sure where he's gone, but he was another one as well. And I think it would be just nice to have a little bit of a mix-up from Thiago Tomas, because I know Thiago Tomas, to his credit, works hard, runs every game. Against Porto especially, I thought he played really well, annoying Pepe. And he has his qualities, but as a striker, I don't think that's his position. I reckon on the wing is more his forte. But there was a lot of fouls in this game. I think it was a total of 42 fouls, only 3 yellows. But like, it was a game that I thought no one particularly played that great in. I thought Coates again was fantastic. Vidal had a rare off game, which I thought is very unlike him, very unlike the defense. You bring out Matheus Nunes. I didn't think he played badly, but part of me was thinking, you bring in João Pereira. I know part of it was for the coaching team, and I got quite a lot of backlash for that on Twitter, saying, "Oh, where's João Pereira?" But like, I think if you're going to sign someone, they need to play regardless of age. If they're good enough to sign, they're good enough to play. But I would at least like to see a cameo from him. But like, now I've got to the point where as Amorim picks a team, I may disagree with some of it, but he's the manager and he's got it right 100%, if not like 99% of the time. But Coates again, man, like he's just so integral to this team, and it's funny because I'm going to hold my hands up here. A year ago, 2 years ago, I slated him badly. He was scoring own goals, he was doing mistakes. But like under Amorim, I don't know what he's done, but like it seemed to lit a fire under him. Like you said, a goal scorer, but also a great defender. I think he's just one of those as well. I'm not sure if you've seen that when he did take that contract extension, he didn't ask for a salary increase, so he's on pretty much the same salary as he was before. Which, if you know anyone from a Liga NOS fan, that is what they love, is like a player just not doing it for money, doing it for like love of the team. But I was thinking about this the other day, and I know we still got a lot of games to play, but like if we win the title, right, and Coates says, you know what, there's no more I can do with this team. Like, I know we've got Champions League, but I think he's got to the point, if we do win, that he can be one of those guys who would leave. As much as it would break my heart, I could completely understand. Like with Patricio, if like Patricio William, if they won like the league and they said, we've won the league, we've done all we can, we move on. But like for me, I think Coates has a sort of earned that right. He stayed through the Alcochete attacks, and I know, like you said, Aaron, a meme status for another club doesn't mean he can't be a hero. I remember he was thinking with like the Milan teams. He could have gone realistically, and he could have like gone to Italy, he could have gone to Spain, even like mid-table teams in England. But like he stayed, and I think he's integral to this team, and I think he's one of the reasons we're playing so well. But in terms of game, it was frustrating. It was, but like these are the points that a year ago we would have dropped 100% under Silas, under Jose Pesero. Like I'm not sure how much you listened, but we say that so often. Like last year, that's a game we lose, and it's credit to the team. I've always been a firm believer that beautiful football doesn't win titles. I mean, it's nice to watch, but at the end of the day, all that matters is the W in the column. And I think Sporting are doing great with that this year, and I love to see it, to be honest.
Facts. I mean, yeah, you said it perfectly, bro. You're saying a year ago. I think 10 years ago we would have lost this game. Like the mentality behind the Sporting team that Ruben Amorim has instilled is like kind of unfamiliar to me. Like I can't believe we pulled off. I was meaning to look for it, but I was just been too busy at work, and then I didn't have time before the podcast. I wanted to see how many goals we scored 80 minutes plus, because it's been an incredible number for sure this year. Another game winner. And like I think I'm just gonna say it, repeat basically what you guys have been repeating. These are the games that, and as cliche as it is, these are the games that make champions. You don't always have to play well; you just have to win, and that's exactly what happened. And I'm glad that there is a switch at Sporting this season. That even if we are down or not down, but even if we are playing bad, there's still that belief within the team that we can get a goal and still ride the ship and still get the W. Yeah, that's really all I had to say about this game. I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything else on that. Sam or Aaron?
I will say that as the reports say, Paulinho should be back after the international break, which I believe is not this week, the week after. So hopefully we start to see the good thing about Paulinho is he holds the ball up really well. He's got that technique on the ball. I think we will start to play better once he's there. And again, no knock to Thiago Tomas there, but record signing.
Yeah, like, and you can see we miss a central figure in there too. Sorry.
And it's like I was saying as well, Basadost in this team, I reckon, he scores way more than his first season. I know he broke records, but I think in this team, like playing with, like, I know you can't compare the teams, and like I'm not in the business of that, but like I think he's someone who held the ball up really well, took his chances, and like I just think when Paulinho comes back, we're going to see what we saw before he got injured, and I think we were playing much better before that. But I mean, we've got like the one thing I love about Amorim is that he never says, "Oh yeah, we're going for the title." It's always the next game is the most important, and I think in terms of the young team that we have, I think that's a really good example to be setting, because you don't want to be like, "Yeah, we're 10 points clear," because then that leads to like big headedness and ego. But I think he's got him grounded, which is good. But I'm not sure if Aaron wants to add anything on to the game.
I think you've got a group of players there that want to play for the manager, which is massive, which is huge, because you can have the most talented squad in the world, but if they don't believe in what the coach believes in, and they don't, it's easy as well for the manager to get on the wrong foot, and it's never the players who get sacked; it's always the manager. And since he went in from day one, even before that, when he was at Braga, he won over the Braga players like that. Their performances just went, because he's a good manager. He's clearly a good manager as well. He believes in the young players. He also believes in having an experienced core. So when you look at the Sporting team, it is a young team, but it's got that nice experienced core in there as well. So you've got the likes of Coates at the back right there. You can see on the graphic, and then just to the right of him, João Mario. He's been there, he's done it. European champion with Portugal. And then you've got the likes of Nuno Mendes coming through, your younger players. Pedro Gonçalves, who's a player who Wolves fans, when he left, didn't even know his name. Do you know what I mean? It got to that point where it was like he had to go. Okay, it hasn't quite worked out. Let me go to Famalicão, let me play under João Pedro Sousa and put these performances in, get signed, and now you're seeing a player, really flourishing. That doesn't happen if you don't have a manager who doesn't have 100% confidence in you. And I feel like you alluded to it a little bit before, Sam, when you said about Coates. I don't know what Amorim's done. Amorim's just made him believe in the talent that he's always had, and he's helping to bring it out of him. And you can be the most talented player in the world, I keep saying it, but you need someone there to work with you. And that's not just Amorim as well. That's a credit to the whole backroom staff and the club itself. And yeah, that ethos of just, what title? We've got Moreirense next week. That's the title game. And that's why you keep going to these places without, this performance wasn't the best. In fact, it was one of the worst. Give Santa Clara the credit. They've done this to a lot of teams this season. They've frustrated opponents for near on 90 minutes, but they got the points and they went back home. So yeah, he's a fantastic manager, and I feel like, I just think they're in a position now where you can't just rest on your laurels and think, the title's in the bag, because still unbeaten in the league, so you've still got that to play for as well, and that'll be in his mind. He won't ever say it. He won't ever say, we want to be invincible. If you asked him in a press conference, he'd probably say, the sooner we lose, we get it over and done with. It's off our back then, because that's pressure. Not losing the game domestically is pressure. It sounds stupid to say, but there'll be managers out there who will think the sooner we just get this, take a loss, because it's how you actually cope with that, because that can crush a team or they can bounce back from it. We don't know how Sporting could suffer after losing in the Liga, because he's just making sure it doesn't happen. So credit to him. You can't ever see how well a team can bounce back if there's nothing to bounce back from. So they've been great to watch. I feel like they've put in every type of performance as well this season. They're not just sort of one-trick ponies. They have games where they'll be frustrated and they find a way. They'll opt to go through the middle rather than going, if it's a team where they're doubling up on Nuno Mendes or Pedro Porro, they'll go through the middle. They'll go more direct. If it's a team which are, sitting in a low block, they've got a really tall defence, they're not going to just give the ball to Nuno Mendes and ask him to put a cross in against the team who've got 2 6'7" centre halves. Do you know what I mean? They adapt to the game and how it's played, and that's why you continually come away with good results because you've got a manager who can look at the game and think, right, what's the best approach for this particular game, rather than just playing the same way every single week. So yeah, that's me waxing lyrical about the Sporting. I have really enjoyed, even though it's a little bit of the sadist in me. I actually really like watching games where teams are frustrated because I like seeing, how are you going to cope with this? You've got 5 minutes to go. How are you going to cope with it? You know, it's easy to compliment the team when they're 5-0 up every week, but how do you deal when you're being frustrated and when the games are scruffy? I like to see tactically, how do the players move? How are they coping with it? You know, there's 10 men behind the ball. What are you going to do? Are you going to keep doing the same thing over and over? Or are you going to adapt and overcome? So, yeah.
No, fast. And to that point, even Mourinho has mentioned that he wants to even see how this team reacts after a lot. He's mentioned that at least in the last 4 or 5 press conferences that he's had, stating that exactly. And that's one of the reasons why he won't, say, favorites for the title per se, that it's just game by game. Because like he said, and like you said just now, he doesn't know exactly how this team will react to a loss. So yeah, we've seen them lose, but not in the league yet. When that happens, we'll see how they come the next game. If that does happen, I hope not. But 1,000% agree on that. I'm just gonna ask you guys your man of the match. I'm gonna give mine as Goal Point did as well to Kwach. A quick point on Kwach, like Sam did mention, the contract extension with no pay raise. What I want to emphasize here is this is definitely Kwach's best year at Sporting, and it just so happens to be a captain, and even still he's not demanding a pay rise. That is something that very few and far between players will do, like a contract extension would have been good as it is. And if he did get a pay raise, I don't think many Sportingistas, especially not now, would even bat an eye at it, because he's deserved it. I mean, he's won us 2-3 games already this season, at least, not to talk about the other seasons that, yes, maybe he scored an own goal or two. But we played Tondela this weekend. I still remember, if it wasn't last year's, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that Tondela winner where he takes off his shirt and, going crazy. Didn't get a yellow card, by the way, which is hilarious. But yeah, I still remember that. So the fact that he's having his best season at Sporting right now and still didn't get a pay raise, I think that's exactly what, I won't even say what I think most fan bases or all fan bases will want, but especially as Sportingistas, who we've seen our club, lose players on a free or have club legends, rescind their contract for more money, and so shout out to Coates. Sam, your man of the match?
You know how I always like to go a different route to the norm in man of the match, but there's literally no other, there's no one there is. When that happens, it's just, I've got his shirt under here somewhere. I'm not going to look for it, but he's one of them players that there are some players that I've had on sporting shirts before, and I'm I don't really wear it out in public because people are who's that, and you have to sort of explain. But I'm happy wearing a Quarter shirt out, and I don't plan to wear it out ever again. I plan to hang it in a frame if we do win the title. I think it would look just above the TV. I'm not sure if you can see it there, but I've got a basketball one just above the TV there. I mean,
oh, nice. Yeah,
right there. But I plan to do something like that. No, he's fantastic. Man of the match, one of the players of the season. It's Coates, no one else.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an obvious choice. I'm the same as you, Sam. I always try and go down an alternative route, and it also makes it always me. I always think, am I just picking a player because I want to seem like I'm being different, or am I just trying to appear contrarian? But no, he was fantastic. And say at the end of the game, he created 2-3 chances. He had the one that headed over. Defensively, he was good. And he was the match winner. And yeah, you've made me think now, Sam. I'm gonna have to get some more shirts up. I've only got 2 up. I've got so much empty wall space, and just literally having.
I've only started during that lockdown. That was a 21st birthday present in the basketball shirt here, and
nice.
The Bastos fake came from Depop, but there's Depop, eBay. There is some fakes, as I've unfortunately.
I've got a box of this of his stuff. That's all. I don't know what to do with it. So it's literally of shirts, and there's just so many classics in it. I just think like this kit, the Euro 2004, the away, it's just like such a sick kit, and like
I love that one.
2004 home, like there's just so many. 2002. Oh, actually, look what I've got in here. Oi, this is there's some memorabilia in here. There's some 2008. I need to sort it all out. It's just everywhere in the room. Or I need to organize some sort of like office space where get it up, get it on, get it on show.
We need to have you back with Christian, because Christian also has a crazy fucking collection of just shirts. It's mainly Spartan, to be honest, but retro, past, present. We need to have you back on. It's basically what it is.
I will say as well, especially, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Ellis Patton, the Porto fan, who's also a football shirt collector. I found him during lockdown on YouTube, and like, there's so like, especially in the UK, the prices of like retro football shirts have like, Aaron, I'm not gonna lie, I think we're sitting on like hundreds of pounds there.
That's There's even just the merchandise. There was a guy who sent us loads of the shirts that came in that. He sent us some merchandise out and was like, I'm getting rid of some of this stuff. I'm moving house. And I was like, he didn't tell me what was in the sort of box. He was like, I'm going to send it. He was like, I've followed the page for years. He was a Portuguese guy living in England. And he was like, yeah, these are just the things that if I weren't giving them to you, I'd just be getting rid of them. So I'm thinking, there probably isn't a lot in here, but it's a nice thought. And when he sent it was like so many just ridiculous items. I messaged him and I was like, if that's the stuff you're getting rid of, because I know if you're a shirt collector, you're keeping some stuff. He was like, oh yeah. He was like, that's the stuff that doesn't make the collection. And I was like, what have you got? And he was like, listing the stuff that he got. He sent us that. That's nice. It's signed by Cedric, Renato Sanchez, Ruben Neves, and Helder Costa. And then he was like, that was just after a game. He got them to sign it, and he was like, yeah. And it was like, there's only like 4 or 5 signatures on it. And then he sent me a picture of a 2016 shirt signed by the entire squad that won it with the little patch versus France. I was like, okay, that's what's in your collection. Then you must be sitting on like grands on grands on grands. And he sent us actually one for you guys. I posted the picture on the Twitter, like commemorative beer bottles from.
Oh yeah.
I can't. This is it. Full. Oh, sick, they've still got
some beer in there. Oh shit!
It's the unopened. That's for the Sportingistas out there, and then it's got like in silver, like inscription. Obviously it's all in Portuguese. Don't know if there's like a song on there or and then that's the put that one away quickly.
That looks like some hot sauce. That's what that looks like. Oh, yeah, that does look like. Hey.
Yeah. But no, like that type of stuff. Like, I'll keep hold of this one. I should have just like sat this on there. But yeah, no, it's But yeah, the I don't know when they were made. The expiry date on that is April 2001. So
nice.
So yeah, this is before the last Premier League title was won. So I'll pop this open when he actually sent me a message and was like, oh yeah, by the way, don't open it. And he was like, it'll be fully fermented and it'll smell horrible. And I was like, no, I'm gonna keep them. I'm gonna keep them. He was like, no, I mean it. Like, if you ever think, oh, I'll open it on special occasion, he was like, don't. It'll put you in hospital. I was like,
facts. Okay. That's a fact.
So yeah, he's a top guy. Shout out to him.
Shout out to him. Cool. I'm gonna quickly move on to Modalidades. Gonna spew out some of our results before going into Saturday's fixture. So Sporting beat Maya 32-25 in handball. What else do we got here? Of course, we have incredible winners. I'm only remembering Patricia Mamona with an incredible gold medal victory over the weekend. The ladies football team, late Nirvana goal for a 1-0 win against Braga to keep pace at the top. With Benfica next weekend, we play them. Huge game. They're just 2 points ahead of us. So all eyes on the female game this weekend. Basketball team lost to Porto, and Benfica won. So everyone is 18 wins and 2 losses, I believe. What else do we have? We have and that score was 81-78 to Porto. Football masculino, of course, we beat Santa Clara 2-1. The B team beat Rapes from Açores 4-0. The under 23s for the Taça de Revelação beat Coimbra 2-1. Like I mentioned, the female team beat Braga 1-0. The futsal team beat Povoense 7-2. I know there was a huge volleyball game, I believe. Hockey the Petinge beat Viana 9-3. And the women's team beat Feira 10-1. Volleyball. Like I said, we beat. So in the quarterfinals, we beat Espinho 3-0. We beat Leixões 3-0 in the semifinals. In the finals, we beat Benfica 3-1. I believe that won us the Taça de Portugal in volleyball. So congrats to the guys. And the female team for the league won in volleyball as well, 3-1 against Guimarães. To my Modalidades lovers out there, I'm not the biggest hardcore Modalidades fan like Steph is, so I apologize. And next week we will have somebody better doing the Modalidades. That is for sure. But shout out to all our Modalidades, super important part, especially for all clubs in Portugal, but none other more than Sporting here. Let's pivot it back to soccer, or to football, I should say. Sorry, I'm talking to 2 British dudes. I shouldn't say soccer. My bad. And Sporting go away against Tondela this Saturday. Let me quickly just remind you guys Tondela's last few fixtures. They currently sit in 10th place, 24 points, 1 point behind Rio Ave. They're having a pretty good season by all accounts on there. And they did just come from a 3-0 slapping in Algarve, 3-0 against Portimonense. The game before, they beat Tondela 1-0. They lost to Braga 4-2, and then they beat struggling Marítimo 2-1. Aaron, preview and prediction. How do you see this Tondela game going for us?
They'll make it difficult. They're not a complete walkover. And I think as you get into this part of the season now as well, I think we'll be going into Jornada 23, is it?
Yep.
I think it's, yeah. So, there's lots of teams near the bottom. Tondela are actually one of the teams that getting to that point where they're not clearly, obviously, they're not safe. I think down at the bottom, it's like 19, 20, Boavista maybe on 21. So they've got that nice buffer there up there on 24 points. But yeah, one loss, they can easily be back down there. So I always see nothing but a Sporting win because of the character and hopefully they put on, a better performance. Again, it'll be a side who will try and frustrate them, who will try and stop Sporting from playing and stop utilising, the key strengths, the key areas. Again, without Paulinho, difficulties not back until is it the early part of April? It's back like the start of April, and so that'll be difficult. But this is a team who overcome. Tondela will need. They need points, but I said this on the Proxima Jornada podcast. This is a not a free hit for them, but they're looking at this game. This isn't the type of game that their status in the league is going to be dependent on. So they're not looking at the Sporting game and thinking this is the game that either relegates us or it doesn't. They're happy to keep picking up points. Marítimo, Portimonense, trying to take points off those kind of teams. Anything from sort of above them in the league, from 9th, 8th, above, is if they can go there, if they can get a point, or if they can snatch a win, brilliant. If not, it's not the end of the world. So I can see nothing but a Sporting win, and I think they'll put on a good performance. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with 3-1 Sporting. That's my prediction. So you can come back when I get it completely wrong. And it's 1-0. Quater's 97th minute winner.
Hey, man, so long as they win, I don't care what score you say, bro. How about you, Sam?
Just to Aaron's point, I don't think any of us have ever got a prediction right on this. And we've been doing this for 3 years now. So
if I get it.
I mean, is it Nuno Gabriel, Danny, who's watching all of our old ones? Yeah. So I think he was from episode 85.
No, he was even. I think he only got to 85 today. So he was like a little delayed on it. So he's been watching it since he last picked up on it, and I think it was like 70 something, and he's on like 85 today, and he still has another like 20 something to go. What a beast! Shout out to Nuno. When you finally do see this in like 2 weeks' time, we love you, man.
That's dedication, man. That's dedication. How many? So what episode number is this?
I believe this is 102. Yeah.
Hey, congratulations on the triple figures, boys. I'm on episode 7 and I am exhausted. Like just the editing and stuff. Obviously, this is live, but now that's such an achievement. So I'm thinking like, I can't wait to get to episode 10. Like that's such an achievement. But episode over 100, wow, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, to Nuno's credit, he still got to get that Bruno Cavallo podcast out of the way, which I believe was like 2.5 hours. So
it was a long one, and he goes off on philosophical tangents. I was dropping in and out. I think I was working at that when it was live, but I went back and watched it. You can just listen to that guy speak for just about anything. The way he speaks, he's just a guy that fascinates me, and that was such a good podcast as well. I sent that into like 4 or 5 group chats and was like, get on this. So hopefully they got a couple of views from that. But now it's every time you put good content out, it sort of sells itself. People want to watch it. I imagine that's probably one of the videos with the highest amount of views because it was just
obviously by miles, I think by at least 2,000. I'm pretty sure
it's ridiculous. Like and that's testament to, because I know how hard behind the scenes people only ever see the interview. They never actually see the work that goes into trying to schedule the interview, get times and get dates. And I know how sometimes it can be difficult, and then speaking to certain people, so I fully understand. So to do it and then to actually conduct the interview and then for it to go as well as it did, and then for people to watch it is for a viewer, it's just a one step process. They click and they watch. But I know for you guys, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. So credit to you. It was a brilliant interview as well, to be honest. I thought you conducted it very well. He's just such a, I don't know what it is. He's got this, to say the least. It's like he's got like this is it like magnetizing? Like there's like an aura about him where when he speaks, you just want to listen to him. So yeah, no, that was brilliant. I was very jealous actually. I was like, wish I was in on this.
No, but I'm not sure if Danny has it, but I still have PTSD from an interview we were trying to get with a basketball player from the actual sporting modality. But I'm not sure if you're around for that point, but we actually got a call. I think, Danny, was it 15 minutes, 10 minutes before we were supposed to go live? It was something like that.
I think I remember. I think I remember this. Yeah. Did the guy call to say that they pulled the plug on it?
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't him though. It was
the back officer at Sporting. Yes, I remember this. And then didn't you go ahead and do a podcast that same night though? Where it was
I mean, we promised one. Everybody was already in the chat, right? Like excited for it, so might as well.
We got so many questions as well. There were so many questions. They were before that we didn't really have we had the Sporting160 guys on, but we didn't have a proper connected
an athlete or anybody like that, you know.
Yeah, and it was we were so hopeful, but then, we didn't get the guy's name. It was sort of a quick thing, but we think it was Miguel Braga, who is the head of communications now, and he was just basically
a reason for it. Was it just
because we spoke bad about Varandas and
people
have questioned that
in the past.
They've questioned it and said, "Oh, we don't believe it." I've got Danny and Chris as a witness. I had it on loudspeaker. He said that because we trashed Varandas that we weren't allowed. And I did try and fight the case. I didn't just say whether, I just said so we can't have an opinion. And he was like, you can have your opinion, but we can have ours, which is fair, I guess.
My biggest regret on that is not going live right when he said like we can't have them on, and just have him repeat it to us while everybody sees it. Just
Say that again.
I mean, that would have been brilliant content.
Say that again.
Like, exactly, exactly. But yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah,
That was crazy. But in terms of triple digits, bro, you'll get there like really quickly. Don't even worry about that, man.
One a week or two. I think we're averaging. To be fair though, it's hard with we're doing like one a week, but then sometimes we'll do like one every 9 days, but then some days we'll do two within a space of 5 days. So it's very there's no real sort of structure to it. I think when it becomes a little bit more advanced, it will get there. But yeah, double digits will do me for now. Another 2 or 3 weeks, and then we move from there.
Yeah, but I was just going to say something else about the podcast, but like, yeah, that was just, it was weird. Like, never in my wildest dreams did I think that would happen. But like, when we were in European competition, like when we first started, we were in Champions League. We had the games against Juventus, and like we used to do one like every sort of game. So it would be like every week. And like, I can speak for Steph as well, who's not with us today. That was at the start, because it was just two of us. Like, we had significant burnout by the end. So thankful to Danny and Chris and all that. But like,
yeah,
like 100 episodes is mad. But to get back on topic of a Tondela, I always think they're a team, especially against us, that play like really well. They're sort of like a bogey team for us, that they always have that chance to upset. And I feel like we have a lot of those, just because like recent years we've done a few bad performances. But like, Tondela are not a team to be messed with. But I personally think it's going to be another struggle without Paulinho, depending if Pedro Porro's back as well. But I'm going to go, I think it'll be like a dirty 2-0. I think we will struggle, but I think we'll come out there on the other side.
Yeah, I also don't see anything other than a win, and of course all three of us saying a win is gonna, fuck us over in the long run. But I can't. I've been saying this the last few weeks, and I try to be a pessimist when I predict these things, but I just can't go against this team. Like, we're firing on all cylinders, even when we're not like at our best, we're still finding ways to win games. But yeah, like Aaron said, Tondela's they're gonna make it hard for us. They've always made it hard for us, so I don't expect anything less. But honestly, I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm gonna go with a thrashing, a 3-0. I was gonna say something more, but I'll say 3-0 win. I'm feeling generous. I'm feeling good. But of course, that's the end of our podcast. Aaron, quick plugs, man. Brian wants to know, where can we find you, dude?
Everywhere, Brian. Literally everywhere. So the website is split it into sort of categories. So the website is where we produce written content, so that you'll find the interviews that we've done with footballers, coaches, journalists. There's footballer interviews on there. We interviewed Ryan Gold recently for Friends, who plays for Friends, Ricardo Pereira, Ronnie Lopes, Nuno Gomes. There's lots on there. The split it into sections as well. So there's like the Portuguese who play abroad. There's the more domestic issues, sort of like long pieces. That's Proxima-Jornada.com. The Twitter is Proxima Jornada 1, at Proxima Jornada 1. The podcast, literally just type in Proxima Jornada into Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. I think it's on everything. The podcast host sort of uploads it manually. And then we're on YouTube as well now as well. We've only got one video. It's the Ryan Gold interview. That's just Proxima Jornada on YouTube. So yeah, everywhere. Hopefully just trying to make more and more content and get as many places as possible. There's some plans to get on more streaming services and stuff. Going to be moving to Acast, I think, soon. So yeah, get at me, follow me. Just let me know. Say that it's from this podcast or whatever. I'll always follow back. I'm not one of those who's precious about following and stuff. I just love the community, to be honest. That's my plug.
That's sick. Aaron, bro, thanks for joining us. It's been a great conversation. I'm looking up now. It's almost 2 hours. It didn't feel like 2 hours at all to me.
No.
Wow.
It's been fucking lovely, dude. Appreciate it. And we need to have you back on. I'm putting you on the spot, bro. Sorry. But we need to have you back on, because this has been great, man.
Let me know
great,
whenever.
Man.
Whenever. Always
for sure. All right, guys, you heard it here first. Aaron will be back. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Marco Leão, Brian Rego, Richard Neves, Bruno Rodrigues, Lauren, who just joined us, Garrick Phillip, Pietri, who was on earlier, of course. I think he's now attending to his wife, as he's not as active in the chat as he should be. Giuseppe Pimenta, shout out to you, bro. Juicebox Leal. I'm sure I'm missing bare people. Jeffrey Aguiar. Andre Marques, Abdallah, of course, all the way from Jordan. Shout out to everybody that was in the chat and listening. We do appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter at Sporting160_EN. Right after you follow Proxima Jornada 1 on Twitter, of course. Follow us on Facebook, Sporting160EN, on YouTube, Sporting160EN, on Instagram, Sporting160EN. And of course, we're going to end it off with the same video we started it off by, because stupid me with my stupid memory doesn't bring things up. But of course, we lost a club legend this week, Maria José Valero. You did, of course, the famous fado singer of the Marcha do Sporting, as well as other things. So, my condolences to her family, to her fans, to her loved ones, to all of us Sportingistas who are definitely going to miss her, and who use Marcha do Sporting as an anthem, really. So yeah, it was a huge loss to the Sporting community. I always say Paulinho is king, but to me, Maria José Valero is queen of Sporting. So rest in paradise.
Rest in peace.
And yeah, yeah, boys, it's been a great one, guys. And let me throw that out.